latest live podcast of Noel McDermott's Wellbeing Show. And I am Noel McDermott, and I've got a fantastic guest on this morning, Adam this morning. Did I say morning?
Yeah.
It certainly isn't morning. This evening, I've got a fantastic guest, Adam Hamblett, who I'll introduce in just a minute. But just to remind you all that it's Wednesday the 24th, it's 9 p.m. UK time, which means that this is a live broadcast. Be lovely to hear from you. You can call in, actually, +44 7506 319 745. Or you can drop us a line on WhatsApp and I can get your questions in. We'll try and look at the various live streams and see if people comment there, but actually it's probably easy just to send me a WhatsApp message because I'm a bit old and I'm also male, so that means I'm genetically incapable of doing more than one thing at a time. So sitting down and talking to people is about as much as I can do, and every now and then I'll look at the WhatsApp and see if I can answer a question there. So surfing on the internet at the same time is impossible for me. So it'd be lovely to have your contributions, folks. Anyway, enough of me. Adam, welcome.
Thank you.
How are you doing, mate?
Yeah, good. It's a nice, crisp, cold evening up here in the north. But
I was going to say, you don't live in Hackney, do you?
No.
I can tell from your accent, you're not from around my way.
No, from sunny Leeds.
Sunny Leeds. When was Leeds sunny?
Never.
I was going to say that's not.
No, it's not so sunny, but yeah, I'm in Leeds.
Wet Leeds, I would say.
Yeah, very, very, very cold, very wet, very grey.
All the dales, all that area is sort of quite hilly, isn't it? It captures all the warm rain, all the warm weather that comes from London ends up pissing all over Leeds, basically.
Exactly, yeah.
Pretty much. As the clouds go up and cool down, they come and then piss all over you. So
exactly. Yeah.
But it has its compensations because that area of Britain, the UK, is one of the most stunning and beautiful areas, actually, I think. It
is. We're very lucky, to be fair, where we are in Leeds, because people often associate Leeds with Yorkshire Dales, because obviously it's in Yorkshire, but it's just as close to get to the Peak District, near Sheffield and Derbyshire and whatnot. So, and then of course just an hour further than the local Yorkshire Dales is the Lake District. So you're in 2 hours of 3 different national parks. So it's really good.
And also, it's like, and I'm very jealous of this. You're only hop, skip, and jump away from Scotland as well, which is another planet entirely when it comes to beautiful sort of.
Definitely, yeah. Get up to South Scotland, where my family live in Dumfries, in 2 hours 40. So it's not far at all.
It's brilliant. When I do it, it's a whole day travelling. So,
yeah.
Which is worth doing. I mean, I'm not complaining. I'll still do it easily. But London has its compensations, obviously. But I do sort of feel a bit jealous about people who are not that far away from hills and mountains and dales.
Yeah, of course. But London's got the other stuff. It's got the fancy stuff, the opportunity.
Yeah.
So there's
Absolutely. So I was just checking if that was somebody wanting to join us, but it's not. It's Uber telling me about how I can order food from them. I'm like, oh, thanks. Anyway, great to have you on. We've got you on because this is the first time I've actually seen you. We've talked on the phone, but I saw you posting on one of the Facebook groups that I'm part of, and I'm a keen cyclist and wild camper and wilderness person, stuff like that. So I'm part of various sort of Facebook groups, and you posted on one of them about some videos that you'd made of your experience wild camping and its connection to mental health. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, and so we're going to get into that. I think sort of because the reason why it resonated with me is because one of the main reasons I get involved in nature and camping and mountains is that it helps my mental health, without a doubt, and that's why I do it. I love being out in nature, and there are some very well-researched reasons why. There's this thing called a biophilic response, which is a response that happens in humans when they're in nature and when they're around animals, other species. Which is thing. Again, we'll get into that. So, how did you what was your journey into getting involved with trying to do? I know you also did boxing as well as part of your recovery from mental health struggles, but tell us how you got into that position in the first place, where you needed some help specifically. What's the story there?
Yeah, it goes a little while back. It goes back to 2014 specifically.
Yeah.
Prior to this certain event, which I'll go into in just a moment, I can't say from my memory that I can remember suffering with any kind of mental health issue or.
Yeah. What was? I mean, I guess you grew up in and around Leeds. What was your sort of life like growing up?
Yeah, I grew up with quite a big family. I had a mum, a dad in Leeds, about 5 minutes where I am now. Mum, dad, brother, sister. They had partners who lived with us. Then the brother and his partner had babies, and I become an uncle and all that sort of stuff. Very big family, nice family home.
And you all got on well and all that sort of stuff. It was
we got on pretty well, and obviously there's a brother and sister fights and all that kind of thing, just as normal. Typical working class family. There's definitely weren't rich, but definitely weren't poor. Very lucky enough to go on holiday once a year at least to Canary Islands, that kind of thing. It was
school was okay and all that sort of stuff. You were all right at school. You got through it and all that sort of stuff.
To be honest, I weren't the worst kid in school. I was just I couldn't concentrate, and that's what got me in trouble.
Yeah.
Like I weren't having fights, and I weren't, kicking off alarming. School weren't for me. It was one of those.
Yeah.
I did find myself in the later years in school, like choosing to go to work. So skiving, yes, but I was taking time off to go and be a labourer for a plumber.
Yeah.
So I've always been a grafter. It's just a case of that. Even college and even times at work now, where I find myself in classroom environments, I struggle. I always have. But yeah, I mean, definitely not the best in school. But I suppose you could say I was just a typical teenager.
Yeah, I mean, you weren't having riots, you weren't taking loads of drugs, turning up school drunk and having fights and all that sort of stuff. I mean, it sounds
the typical. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. We did the on a Friday night. We might have had a couple of cans of beer or something on the local field, but we certainly weren't taking drugs. We certainly weren't causing mayhem anywhere. I was a typical teenager, but I like to think I was an okay kid-ish. But yeah, everything was cool.
And you were okay in yourself. You were sort of pretty balanced. No big problems. You didn't have disastrous head stuff happening and.
No. I mean, it all started, I suppose, going a bit wrong when I was about 15.
Right.
It was around my exams, exactly, to be honest, because I remember the head teacher trying his best, to keep me in school while these problems just started arising. Yeah. And they were the divorce of my mum and dad.
Okay.
So that's when that literally started as I was 15, and I heard a lot of shouting and swearing and things like that during the last, say, from about maybe 14-year-old. But what I didn't know is there was quite a lot of domestic violence going on,
right,
between the parties, and I started seeing evidence of that. The face, cuts, bruises, that kind of thing. So everything just seemed to be so perfect. And it was just such a normal family home, visits from your grandparents. And then all of a sudden this domestic violence started. And then I started playing up in school at that time quite a lot.
Yeah, of course, that's understandable, yeah. And there'd been no sign of that before? No arguments or no bruises or frightening things happening before?
Definitely arguments here and there, but no signs of bruising and cuts and things like that. And
you'd never witnessed any violence prior to that or anything?
No, not prior to that. Not myself. I'd heard a lot of argument, but I always remember when I heard the argument, I used to go into another part of the room or a different room or so I can. And my sister, although she was the middle-aged child, she was the one that sort of took control. She used to shout at my mum and dad to get them to stop. I always remember that. She was the one. She still is. She's like the mother of the family.
Okay.
So she was the one that took control and tried calming things down. But
I used to hide, to be honest, when it was happening. I was like,
yeah,
I'd go up to my bedroom. I didn't want to hear it. It frightened me. I didn't.
Awful.
Yeah.
Awful. Simply, I was scared of it. I really was.
Yeah.
As soon as I heard it, I still think I am. Anytime I hear a big argument between someone, makes me feel it's not me.
I've learned how to manage conflict these days, but I spent many years. It would trigger me, and I would have adrenaline rushes and memories and stuff like that, and I was right back to being a little kid who was just like overwhelmed by this stuff. Do you know what I mean? So I still am. I have to be careful about it. Yeah.
Of course you do. Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely not nice, and it was pretty awful. And then I started getting my ideas that this was happening, and then I realized my confirmation of that was I went to the doctors one day. I can't remember. I think I was a bit ill or whatever. My mum took me, and there was a poster on the wall, and it was for domestic violence. It's like a helpline. And I remember looking over at my mum's phone, and she put in a fake name as the contact. She typed the number in on her phone, and that's when I knew that what I thought was happening was true.
So the violence was going mostly from your dad to your mum.
Yeah. It was definitely. Of course, she from the scars on my dad's face, I do remember her and stuff. She was holding her ground, but yeah, it's definitely a case of it was from my dad to my mum mainly.
Okay.
95%. I think my mum was just defending herself.
Pretty much, that's the way it is generally. It's very rare that it's the other direction.
It is. It does happen, of course, but predominantly it is that way.
Yeah.
I remember then finally she come into the spare room where the computer was, where I spent a lot of my time. She says, I've got to go. I've got to go to your granddad's.
Wow.
I've got to go. And I pretended to act shocked, but I knew why. My sister went and stayed with her boyfriend. My brother went and stayed with his girlfriend. My mum left, of course, to my granddad's. And there was just all of a sudden me and my dad just in this big 4-bedroom house completely alone.
Wow.
Just like that, really. So that happened.
And were you afraid of your dad at this point? Had you witnessed enough violence to think, oh my God, I'm a bit worried about this bloke?
I was always, I don't know if scared's the right word, but I was always sort of not to get on the wrong side of him.
Okay.
When he got angry pretty bad.
Right.
Never laid a finger on me, ever.
Same here. My dad never touched me. It didn't stop me being afraid of him, though, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Because when he kicked off, I saw quite a lot of it in terms of the way he was towards my mum. I found it totally frightening and terrifying. I couldn't cope.
It's awful, isn't it? It is.
Yeah. I couldn't cope. I literally was petrified of it. So
I think you could say I was probably. In fact, I was scared of my dad. Definitely at times. Definitely was scared of him. Loved him and felt like I could go to him for anything, and I could say anything. But there was, I was always wary.
That's sort of more confusing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's because it's like you can attach to the bloke, have lots of love, but there's this egg, isn't there? Of like, is something going to happen? In a sense, I was sort of all right because my dad was through and through was a bad one. So it's like, you know what I mean? It was like, I went the other direction. It was like, bye.
Yeah.
Although my mum had to leave, and good on her, actually, in some way.
Yeah.
But I was with him for a couple of years. We all were. And we lived off baked beans on toast for 2 years. It's like
it's not easy, especially when that first happens. And in fact, that's strange to say because that's when the financial problems hit as well. To be fair, for the first time, the house got repossessed. My dad actually met a new partner then. He didn't mess about, and to be fair, his partner was lovely, and she still is lovely. I still see her now to this day.
Oh, great!
She's called Pip, and she's absolute wonderful woman.
Hey, Pip.
Hello, Pip. And she in a way, in a quite a lot of ways, she calmed my dad down. And my dad spent probably around 6 or 7 years with Pip, and domestic violence never took place.
Right.
Which thank the Lord. Bad arguments still, and a lot of things getting thrown, which I suppose you could put into that category. But regards to physical fighting, there weren't any. So that was good. But when the house got repossessed, my dad went to move to live with Pip, which was at the other side of Leeds, in Morley. Yeah. So that's quite a while away.
Did you go with him at that point?
Yeah, well, no, I decided to try and stay with a friend's mum and dad because I was like best mates, close with them. There was like a second group of parents, and there still are. And I decided to try and stay with them, but I was very, very young, just turning 16, and I was literally living in my own little room above a pub that they owned. And obviously I couldn't look after myself properly. I could, but I was so inexperienced in life to live on my own at that point.
So it's tough when you're 16 to do that.
Yeah.
Hard work.
Yeah. I mean, I was working at the pub, and I was literally having to do my washing and everything for the first time.
Sure.
I didn't resort to cooking because I wasn't very good at it, so I spent a lot of my money on...
Context, my techie, the guy who runs the show, he's only just moved into his own place, and he's 45.
Well, there you go.
Well, maybe not quite 45, but going in that direction. You know?
Yeah, it was very young, very young. So eventually I did make the decision to move in with my dad. Okay. My mum was... actually, she moved to Sheffield. She met a lovely man there called Paul. Right. So I was still in full contact with her and everything, but she moved to Sheffield. So the only option, I suppose, to stay in Leeds was to go to my dad's, and that was fine by me. I was very, very close with him.
But you had the option to go to Sheffield if you wanted to take it?
Yeah. I had the option to go live with my mum in Sheffield, but me and my mum are two alike. Even to this day, we can do a few hours in the same room. And
right, okay.
I absolutely love my mum to pieces.
But then the horns lock and that's it.
Couple of nights with each other.
To get you two apart. Yeah, I get it.
Get us out of here. It's one of them.
Yeah.
So yeah, I went to live with my dad, and that's where I remained. I was a goalkeeper. I was a footballer. My dad was a goalkeeper as well for 25 years.
Right.
So I sort of followed in his footsteps, and when he retired, he became like my coach. So he was my football coach, and he was also my boss because I worked with my dad. He was a builder. So I lived with him, worked with him, and socialised with him because my weekends consisted of playing football. So yeah, we was glued by the hip, basically. And the years went by, and we had ups and downs, you know, when I couldn't always work with him because it wasn't a full-time job. So I was in and out of jobs, and trying to become an adult. And also there was a lot of jealousy on both parties of when I spent time with my mum, when I spent time with my dad. So there was always ups and downs and arguments and things, but things were all right. You know, it weren't too bad. And my sister decided to move to Australia, which was a fantastic move for her.
Yeah.
And it really has played out to be. She's there now, married with 2 beautiful kids. So she decided to do that. And not long after, my dad says, "Why don't you do it? Like, why don't you go out there traveling for a year?" So I says, "Really?" I'm like, yeah. Go and stay with your sister Leanne and go from there. So I remember I booked my flights for February 2015. I booked them for. So I said, great. But I was very close to my nieces and nephews, Maisie and Charlie.
Yeah.
And I went into this panic mode of, I'm moving to Australia. I need to spend as much time with them as possible. So the house that my sister left behind, my brother sort of stayed in there quite a bit with the kids. So I went and started spending a lot of time with the kids and whatnot. And between my dad's house and this house. And then I'm there one night, I go to bed, I wake up, and then I get a knock on the door. This is at my sister's old house, where she'd left to Australia and the kids were. So I think they'd gone home early that morning. I'm in the house on my own. I get a knock on the door, and it was a policeman. I was like, what have I done? What have I done?
That would still be my first reaction.
Yeah. This is like Saturday afternoon, you know. I'm like,
shit. Did I get that drunk last night? Oh my God, can I not remember? Yeah.
What has gone on? Yeah. I was probably due to go back to my dad's that night, or I don't know. I can't remember if I was going to stay at the house or. So the policeman come in. I was like peeking through the door. He says, "Are you Adam?" I says, "Yeah." He says, "Can I come in?" I says, "Yeah, of course you can." Bearing in mind, I'd had a missed call on my phone an hour earlier from my dad. I didn't answer it. I think I just missed it or whatever. So anyway, I tried ringing back, and there was no answer. So the policeman's coming. He says, "I've just come to give you a bit of news." I said, "Okay." He says, "Your dad's been at work today." I says, Yeah, he has. He's doing a side job for a woman or whatever. He says, "Yeah, unfortunately, he's come off the roof. He's fell and he's died from his injuries." And I just looked at him and I just went, I don't know what come over me, but I just said, "I'm so sorry that you're the person that's had to tell me this." And then I just thought, what? And then all of a sudden I'm in the middle of the street and I don't know how.
Yeah.
Like I must have walked out. And this cop has been amazing. He's like, "Wherever you need to go, Adam, I'll take you." And I'm like, what? It weren't real, you know.
Yeah.
Nothing was real. Nothing was real. Didn't sink in, I don't think.
Went straight into derealization, didn't you?
Yeah, like
the trauma.
I felt like I was in a dream, nightmare. Waiting to wake up. Yeah. I didn't know what was going on. Yeah. So I said, "Well, I don't know where to go. Where do you take me? Yeah. What do I do? What do I do now?" Like, and he says, "Wherever you want." So I drove straight to the friend that I mentioned earlier, whose mum and dad let me move in with them. I drove straight there, and I don't know why. In the police car, I got out. I ran in their house and I says, "My dad's dead. My dad's dead. Like, he's fallen off a roof. He's dead." And they're like, "What are you on about?" And then all of a sudden, my phone started ringing from people. People have started hearing the news just as I have, when I haven't told anyone. Yeah. It's starting to go all over Facebook. So then I get back in the police car and I go to my brother's, and we tell my brother, and his reaction was similar to mine. Yeah. We then had to relay the news to my sister, which was on Skype, who got straight in a car from Australia, drove to the airport without a flight booked, and basically paid a fortune on the desk. And she was home within 24 hours.
Wow.
And that's where the real battle began, really. That was the start of this journey, which I've been on, and I still am on.
So you find out about your dad's death, and it's shocking and horrible. I guess somehow you organise a funeral together as a family.
Correct, yeah. So
the weirdest thing about death is how bureaucratic it is. I remember when I had to bury my mum, and there are so many forms, there are so many things you do. It's just, it's crazy. Like buying a house. It's ridiculous. Do you know what I mean? It's like
it's hard and it's expensive to die. It really is. But we had more. In fact, it's. I'm glad you reminded me of this, because I was, still annoyed at my dad for this. We went to the funeral directors where we went for my nana, who sadly passed in 2011, and they were like, "Oh no, you can't do your funeral here. Your dad still owes us money. We've got our ashes in back room." We're like, "Oh, you're joking." We're like, "He's not paid for the funeral." So I says, "Fantastic." So we had to raise the money to get my nana, God bless her. Yeah. And then we had to go to a different funeral directors, which we did do. And there was me, my brother, sister, Pip, and my stepsister, Rebecca, who's Pip's daughter. And we basically it was just 2 weeks, 3 weeks of hell.
Yeah.
Complete hell of arranging this funeral. And
that weird numb state you go into, I think, times like that, it actually helps us get through that period of time when we have to do all this.
Definitely.
Do you know what I mean? Because you're not feeling anything. It's all a weird dream. And
it's like a negative adrenaline.
Yeah. That's a brilliant way of saying it. It's exactly right.
Your eyes ping, right, we go.
Yeah.
Do this, do that. And they're like, wait a minute, this is real what I'm doing here.
Yeah.
What am I doing? It really is an adrenaline and not a good one. So yeah, we managed to get all that sorted.
Yeah.
And then we did the funeral. And then the following day, my sister returned to Australia. God bless her, she was not in a good way. And that's when I really deteriorated. I was on my own. My mum was there for me every step of the way. She was literally sleeping in the living room with me every single night at my sister's house, the one that she left when she went to Australia. Literally I was just on the sofa crying every night, and she was just laid on the other sofa, just telling me everything's all right. She's got me, this, that, and the other. Cried and drank, to be honest with you. Drank and drank and drank and drank, and I just couldn't stop drinking. It's getting worse. And when my sister come back when I say she come back to the UK straight away, she just went to the airport. My brother-in-law who took her there, he started saying, he said to the desk, I know you can't make the flight go any quicker, but can you please get her off the plane first? Her father's just died, she needs to get to her family. And just out of chance, she actually ended up meeting one of the top bosses for Singapore Airlines, who really helped her on the flight and give her his card. And he said, anything you need, contact me. Wow. So my sister contacted this guy and without me knowing, and says, my brother is due to fly with you in February. We're now in August. Is any chance you could move his flight? I'm happy to pay. And God bless him. He moved my flight forward for free.
Adam, you turned your video off. Turn it back on.
Oh, sorry. Someone was trying to call me.
All right.
And then, sorry about this.
That's all right. That's one of the things. It's one of the realities when we use our phone to do Zoom. Adam is just fending off phone calls at the moment. Probably all your mates going, I'm watching you on this show. It's brilliant. If it is your mates calling Adam, stop it.
Right, that should do it. I said, stop
calling Adam. He's live. Stop calling him.
I'm live. Stop ringing. So yeah, see, he moved my flight forward for free. My sister said, "Listen, you're coming out to stay with us for a bit. When you're all right, then you can come off. You can go off traveling on your own or whatever." So, great.
Went there, and you said to me on the phone when we were chatting about it, the show, you put on this sort of weird, brave face when you were over in Australia. Sort of, nobody would have known that inside you were sort of in bits.
Yeah.
Somebody's still calling you again. Oh, we've lost Adam. He'll come back. Just gonna keep talking, and hopefully Adam will come back to us. Let me just message him. I think he's got half the world calling him, let me send a message. You okay? Coming back. Yeah, I think he's got half the world calling him, watching him do his show with us. I'm just going to sort of fill you in a little bit, and then Adam will come back and tell us a bit in his own words. But when we were talking about it before, I always talk to my guests before they come on, just to make sure things are okay. He was telling me about being in Australia in this sort of weird dream state, which I think is, a very familiar feeling to people who've experienced significant loss. Hang on, he's messaged me. Can you get back in? Use the link, Adam. James, if you're listening, maybe send him another link to the show. So Adam was describing to me when he's in Australia this sort of really strong sense of derealisation, we call it, which is a sort of, here he is. Hello. He's connecting. You're back with us.
I am. I don't know what happened. All of a sudden, it just all went off. Can you see me okay?
Turn your phone around. You're on sideways at the moment. There you go. No, don't worry about it. It's a live show. These things happen, like I said. You should have been on the show where my DHL package arrived. Hilarious. So there you go. I was just saying while you were off, Adam, that you described to me how when you were in Australia, you were in this really strange state of thinking everything was a bit like a movie. You weren't quite connected.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I went out there, and although I wasn't okay, from the day it happened, I'd certainly acted like I was, and nothing still seemed quite real at that point. And it was just a case of self-destruct mode. My sister did a fantastic job with me, her and her husband. For that 3 months I was with her, like, really did a good job. He got me in the gym and got me healthy and got me a job and got me working. They did a fantastic job. But obviously they didn't know what was going on in the head. And any opportunity I got to go out with, any new friends that I made, and I just absolutely caved the drinking and whatnot.
So what was going on inside your head? Do you mind saying?
Yeah, it's like a washing machine, really.
Right.
It was just, I didn't know at the time what it was. It was just hell every single day, every single night. So, when I'm asleep, it was a nightmares. When I was awake, it was
So you're having nightmares, a sense of living in a sort of dream world or a movie.
Worry, constant worry.
Yeah, so that whirring in your head is anxiety, extremely.
Yeah, the anxiety was awful. Like, even to the point where I thought about exactly the way I moved my arms, because when I walked, because I thought people was judging me.
So slightly paranoid thoughts about.
Paranoid, yeah, for sure. Paranoid, worried, anxious, scared.
And were you remembering things as well as the dreams? Were you daytime where things happening, memories coming in and stuff like that?
Yeah, just every second of every day.
Really? It was that intrusive?
All day, every day. Just
wow. And memories. What sort of things were you remembering?
Anything I'd done bad as a person.
Okay. From lots of chain attacks.
Even from the little things of something I said wrong to a teacher in class, to maybe throwing a stone as a little kid, or anything. Arguments I'd had with my parents, anything I've said or done bad, which even doesn't seem bad to people. And it was just guilt. I was just covered in guilt.
So you were thinking you'd done a lot of bad things, that you were a burden on people, maybe? Yeah,
hated myself. Found myself apologising to people for things that they couldn't even remember happened years and years ago. Yeah. But it felt better when I said it, sorry, to get it off my conscience, like a tiny bit of a, that's one.
So you felt a great sense of responsibility, I guess.
Yeah, massive responsibility.
Do you know what you were responsible for?
No.
Just everything and anything.
Everything. With obviously my dad's passing, I felt kind of responsible for that and guilty about that.
Well, it's interesting. You felt responsible for the police officer who came and told you, didn't you?
Yeah.
I'm sorry that I burdened you in this way, officer.
Yeah. Like you've had to come and tell someone.
That's right, yeah. I'm sorry it was you that had the emotional burden of having to tell me about this thing. I mean, it started almost immediately, didn't it?
Yeah, it was just like a constant apology to everyone and anything and anyone. And
you weren't talking to anybody about this stuff at the time. You were
nothing.
Like you were happy-go-lucky. You were in Australia.
Happiest person in the world. Like everyone couldn't believe the way I was. Like, wow, look at you, man. Like, look at you. Like, you're fantastic. What a guy. Yeah. And then after the 3 months of being in Melbourne with my sister, I was allowed to get off travelling. And I was very lucky to meet the people I did, regards to the friends I made and travelled with, because they were a great group of guys. And we were all there for the same reason. We was 21 years old. we was there to party, get a drink. Yeah. But what they didn't know, God bless them, and it's not their fault, is they didn't know I was also using it as a bit of a cover up and a bit of a cure. And
not a bit, Adam, a huge
a lot, yeah, huge cover up.
There's nothing bit about it. Do you know what I mean? It was like it was complete sort of denial that you're in. Really.
Yeah, complete denial. Like there's no wrong with me. I'm fine. Like I'm a legend. I'm just a top boozer. Right. Like all the lads would be just sat watching TV through the day, having food, and I'd be like, there, boom, straight on the drink, straight away, all day, every day.
Well, alcohol misuse and substance misuse is very common as a response to trauma, as trying to numb out the feelings, Of
course it is, yeah. And it was easy to do because that's what you was there for, I suppose. Yeah. So it was like, there's nothing wrong with it because that's what you're here to do, here, have a good time and whatnot. And
did you get into fights and stuff like that as well, or was that not your stuff?
No, I was like I say, it was all the cover up, which I couldn't get into a fight. I was too nice to everyone. Was any money that I had, I'd share it. I'd buy things for people. I'd be happy all the time. I'd be joking. I'd be laughing. We're
very similar. My response to the domestic violence was to run away. And I never got into fights with people. I was far too polite. I became really skilled as a kid at sort of being nice about stuff so that people didn't see me as a threat, basically. So
yeah, exactly so. And it was a response. A definite response of being happy when I wasn't happy.
Yeah. So you're doing this travelling with these guys, and you're the life and soul of the party. What's the next stage of what happens?
We keep travelling around Australia. We go to some fantastic places: Gold Coast, Brisbane. Went to Thailand for a few weeks. Went and stayed on an island in Thailand where there was no vehicles. Worked on a farm out there. Catching snakes.
There's something not fair about having been in sort of paradise while you've got post-traumatic stress disorder. There's something deeply unfair about that.
Yeah, it is in a way. It is. And I was traveling around doing all these amazing things, doing skydives, 2 skydives, went whitewater rafting down the River Tully. Just all these amazing things I was doing, and nothing would. No one knew I was searching for, but I was searching for that thing I was looking for, and I didn't know what it was. And I was out there on my own for the first year anniversary of my dad, and of course the second and third. And I was in complete denial. I obviously knew that I was in a bad place, and I started to recognise it as the years went by. But I was starting to then become embarrassed to talk about it. I was scared to talk about it. I was scared to tell anyone.
What were you afraid of would happen if you told someone?
Being a mouse, not a man. My dad was quite a big man.
Yeah.
Quite a scary man. I was his son.
Don't cry. Boys don't talk about their feelings. All of that stuff. Yeah. All
that stuff. You can't talk about that. You can't embarrass your family like that. You can't go out here traveling and then tell everyone that you'll be ungrateful, you're selfish, So then that's when the next stage kicked in, was to run away again. And off I popped to New Zealand. I thought, I'm fine, I just need a change. That's all it is. I just need a change. Let's go to New Zealand. So did all the visa, did all the flights, left my life in Australia, went to New Zealand. Great scenery, but straight back in the pub.
We call it doing a geographical.
Yeah.
So the thing about moving somewhere is that there's always one thing that comes with you, and that's yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you just end up meeting yourself in a different place.
Of course you do.
Yeah.
And it makes sense now, to be fair.
Yeah.
And I was in this pub I got to New Zealand, and it was a great place, but at this point I couldn't even make friends anymore.
Yeah.
Not the way I could when I first went to Australia.
Yeah.
I was there a week. I didn't even talk to anyone really.
Yeah, so the symptoms are worsening.
Yeah, worsening big time.
Yeah.
This is when the suicidal thoughts first really started.
God, yeah, horrible. Yeah.
And New Zealand, I was in a place called Queenstown.
Yeah.
And it's based on a lake. It's beautiful, this Queenstown.
Yeah.
And I was looking at that lake, and I was thinking, do I just go to the hostel and close my curtain and sort of rot, don't eat, and just let myself rot to death?
Yeah.
Do I put myself in that lake? Like, do I climb that mountain and jump off it? Like, I was looking around at these sceneries and I was like, what is going on here? Like, what am I thinking?
You were at that stage in suicidal ideation of thinking about how you would do it with some sort of intention that you might.
Yeah, exactly.
So I just wanted to stop there because we're talking about very difficult things, and if this is if somebody is feeling this sort of stuff at the moment, or is triggering memories for people at the moment, Adam and I have talked about this a lot, and he's assured me that he feels okay about talking about this stuff. But we're both very concerned that everyone who's listening and hears this, that they don't feel alone. And a great organisation to get hold of if you're having any of these types of feelings, they're called the Samaritans. They're amazing, absolutely amazing. And James will actually, James, if you can post the number on the chat as well as put it out on the social media platforms, I'll give you the number for the Samaritans, but you can just Google them, folks. And in the UK, it's the same number for the UK and for Southern Ireland. It's exactly the same number for the whole of the British Isles, as it were. And they're an extraordinary organisation that are available 24/7, free of charge. You just call them. And often, you know, that thing you're saying about feeling stupid or embarrassed about these difficult feelings, people will say that to me, I can't phone Samaritans, I feel embarrassed. I'm like, well, what do you want to feel, embarrassed or suicidal?
Exactly.
It's an embarrassed a preferable feeling or emotion to, I want to kill myself. Do you know what I mean? It's got to be, isn't it?
It is. It's the better option.
Yeah.
And from someone who's used to Samaritans on a few occasions,
right.
Within half a second, you made to feel comfortable. Fantastic people.
Yeah, I'm using Samaritans myself when there was nobody else. So of course, do it. So you're in this amazing place, and you're really reaching the crisis now, aren't you?
Yeah, really reaching the crisis. Like I'd had enough. I'd really had enough. Like I'd had enough to the point where I don't know how I'm going to do it anymore.
Yeah.
Like it were game over. The next day, I was meant to be opening a bank account and looking for jobs, all that good stuff when you first go travelling and move to a new place.
Yeah.
And I started walking through the town towards the bank, and I just said, oh, pardon my French, but fuck this. Yeah. And I just walked to the lake, and I just walked around the lake, and I was just looking at things. I don't even know what I was looking for. Just looking at things, just wanted the world to collapse on me. Just someone do something to me and get me out of this place. That was it. And I was walking past the roads when I got back, and I was, come on, just jump in front of that bus.
Just, yeah.
Just do it. Like it's good. Yeah. It was just that. I'm so glad I couldn't find the physical courage to move my body in that direction. So all that happened that day. This is the day after I started to plan things. And then I sat back in that pub, same pub, still remember it, it's called the Pig and Whistle. And I'm sat there with a jug of beer, and I was just looking at this lake again. And I just thought, I'm giving it one more chance. I said, I'm calling my mum. This is in my head. I said, I'm calling my mum. I'm telling her everything. And if she does what I think she's going to do, which is call me an idiot and to enjoy travelling, that's it. I'm in that lake.
Yeah.
That straight after that phone call, I was prepared. I was one.
And you really thought she was going to tell you off, didn't you? You really thought she was going to say, what are you talking about, you idiot? Get on with your life, right?
Genuinely thought that. Genuinely.
Wow.
And I genuinely believed as well that, and I was ready for the first, I was ready to.
It's so amazing. Everybody who's in the space that you were describing is like that. There's something happens inside our head. We assume that the people we're going to talk to are going to give us a hard time about it, rather than just go, oh my God, I love you. Come on, I'm going to help you now.
I'm going to help you, yeah. You do. There was no way
weird.
She was gonna So rang her, and she had a bit of disbelief at first, I think, because I was sort of crying, and I said, I'm struggling, Mum. I said, I'm struggling. And she's like, what do you mean? I says, Can't tell you. I said, I'm just struggling. She went, it's just because you're in a new place and you've not got a job. And I says, no, Mum. I says, I don't want to be here anymore. I said, I don't want to be here. I said, I just want to die. And she was crying and she was completely supportive. And she says, give me half an hour. I'm going to your granddad's computer. I'm getting you home.
Oh.
And I'd been out travelling, over 3 years. Yeah. And she texted me through. She spent £500, nearly £600 on this flight. Yeah. My mum doesn't, she just works. She works in a prison now, but she's always been a carer, like on £12 an hour. She's definitely not rich. She just spent all the money on a flight. And she was like, right, you're flying tomorrow. You're flying tomorrow. Get your bags. You're coming home. And 12 hours later, I was on a flight back to Manchester.
Fantastic.
Got back to Manchester Airport. A long 33.5 hours flight.
I'm sure it was. Seriously.
That was horrific.
You must have been in quite a state, you poor thing.
Yeah, it was, jet lag was all over. I think where'd I been? New Zealand, in this flight with the connections. New Zealand, Sydney, Hong Kong, Dubai, Manchester. Got through, got my suitcase, got through customs, and my mum was there waiting for me, and we both just brought down crying. Yeah. And I was just saying, I'm sorry. Like, I'm sorry, Mum. I'm so sorry. And she was like, don't be sorry. Let's get you sorted. Got me home. Enjoyed seeing everyone for the first half a day that I had left. Lots of cuddles everywhere. Went back to my dad's house where Pip lived. She still welcomed me there. She said, it's always your home. And then, the next day was a case of on the phone to the GP. And the comeback started.
So you saw the GP, they offered you meds, so that didn't really work for you.
No.
Which is interesting because NICE are just now updating the guidelines to mean that people don't get offered meds initially. They're going to be offered something similar to the journey you took. So what was the next step? So you try the meds, but it's not working. You're now talking to people at least.
Yeah, well, when I got back, I know I only told my mum, but once I told her, I started telling everyone close to me. And I don't see anyone you would find on the street. I mean,
that's right. Don't tell everybody, tell strangers.
I'm not well. I told my best mate.
It's such a release, isn't it? Such a release. It's like...
Weight went off my shoulders.
Yeah, bang, that's it. Like, talk to everyone, mate. Good for you.
It was like, it's normal. Like, I was told my mum, told my stepmom.
The weirdest thing, I think, is when you start telling people and they go, yeah, I've been there as well. And everybody's like, yeah, I remember blimey, and this person and that person. Suddenly, it's like, you go from this really isolated state to suddenly connected with so many people because of you.
Definitely. And I was surprised at how many people had gone through it that were so close to me.
Loads of people. 3 out of 5 of us, mate. 3 out of 5 of us. It's normal.
It is. That's the best thing. It is normal. Yeah. So anyway, I was telling everyone, I was going for it. I was like, obviously the conversations were, yes, I'm ill. It was more like, this is what's wrong with me. And then the doctors spoke to me and this, that, and the other. And they said, listen, we think you have got probably a case of post-traumatic stress disorder, blah. Yeah. Told me all that sort of stuff. Tried medication, that didn't work. Yeah. Tried talking therapy, and I didn't really connect with the people that they got for me. And they says, what do you enjoy doing? I says, well, I used to play football. Says,
what a great question.
Yeah. What do you enjoy
doing? That's the question to ask people. Not do you want tablets? What did you enjoy doing? What a great question.
It is. And I wrote down a list. I remember writing this list and thinking, what have I done which hasn't helped my situation? Top of the list was drinking as much as I did.
Smart move, get rid of that shit.
Yeah, that was the big thing, and not doing anything I enjoy because I was just drinking. Like I went, and things I love. Like I don't play football anymore, and I was always a massive boxing fan. Like, just watching boxing got me through quite a lot of hard times.
Yeah,
never knew if I could throw a punch. Never knew if I could throw a jab. And I could talk well, but never knew if I could do it. I soon to realise I wasn't very good at it. I wasn't going to be a superstar, but I got a boxing bag. I bought a boxing bag within the first week of being home, put it up. I thought, just let's do this. And I thought, right, let's. I can't just get off the the drink by just telling myself I'm not drinking. I need something to do it. So we're a couple of months into being home at this stage, and I'm, progressing. So I set myself a challenge, and it was 15 week, no drink, and we're going to do some crazy stuff in the great outdoors. At this point, I'm doing me boxing bags to help me get ready. Yeah. So my challenge was to go on a crazy walk, which I walked 75 miles in 24 hours.
Fantastic. Wow.
I walked from Blackpool to Harrogate.
Yeah.
I was planning to go to Scarborough, but I soon realised that was pretty hard. I climbed Mount Snowdon. I did the Leeds all the way from Liverpool to Leeds on the canal on a bike, which was 120.
Yeah. Brilliant. Yeah.
What was the last thing I did? Oh, and I did the Yorkshire Three Peaks. And I did them every 3 weeks throughout this 15 weeks no drinking challenge. So I had stage by stage. So I did all them 4 challenges and got me a lot healthier and better. And I thought, right, let's give this boxing a go. So I thought, well, I can't do amateur boxing. I'm not good enough. So I got into charity boxing.
Right.
And I found this organisation, and I says, I really, really want to do something for Mind and Samaritans.
Yeah.
So I did my 8 weeks training through them, raised some good money for mental health, and had a fight and did really well. I won the fight, and the guy was like, it changed my life in the boxing gym, really did. Long story short with that, 6 fights later.
He's beating Muhammad Ali. That's the next bit of story.
I wish. 6 fights later, I've stopped fighting, but I've not lost a fight, and I've got a nice belt. I've become a champion.
Brilliant. So let's just break that down.
Yeah.
So let's break it down. So the thing to do is you start setting yourself challenges and goals in life.
Yeah.
You have to organise things and get people involved. You start talking about all the shit that's inside your head.
Yeah.
You start looking at things that excite you about life. You start getting healthy again and going outdoors. And going outdoors is always, like I said, this biophilic response. And the boxing is interesting. Do you know I prescribe, as a therapist, I prescribe boxing and kickboxing to people who've got stress and trauma problems.
Yeah, I can get why.
The reason, I'll tell you the reason why. It's a hormonal thing. Like when we have PTSD, we basically go into fight-flight mode, which you know what that is. It's like we're suddenly really tense, afraid like something really bad is going to happen, and we might remember bad things that happen. Particularly if it's connected with death, which is where PTSD comes from, because your dad's dead. And your body gets flooded with all these stress hormones, in particular cortisol. Now, cortisol is a hormone that goes into your muscles to give you explosive energy for fighting or running. And it doesn't wash out of your system. You have to do something to get rid of it. And the boxing and the exercise is literally you're replicating what your body needs to do. It's brilliant stuff.
Yeah.
Apps. I mean, I'm like, when you tell me about it, I'm going, people have got to know this stuff.
Yeah.
And also, there's something, I mean, we're sort of actually come to the end of the hour. I told you wouldn't notice how quickly it went. Because everybody says to me, an hour, I can't talk for an hour, I haven't got to. We're almost finished, to be honest. But there's a thing here as well, and this is maybe a gender issue, maybe not, but it's something I've noticed, that there's the way guys deal with trauma and loss can often be quite antisocial in behaviour terms. You weren't antisocial, but you avoided people, really. And you got drunk and all that sort of stuff. And it's very self-harming behaviour. And a lot of boys sort of dealt with trauma, particularly the boys that witnessed domestic abuse, because children do, and they have been doing that for years. They dealt with it well by going to these boxing clubs as kids. And we sort of took them away. And so we took away from a lot of boys natural ways that they could process and feel feelings and deal with them. And you seem to have discovered it again. But the boxing was the first stage when you became champion of the world, champion of the Wonder Horse. And then I'm just aware of time, so we're going to need to move to the next stage, which is then the wild camping and how that came about.
Exactly. Well, of course, when I was training for the boxing, I was running a lot outdoors. And I just fell in love with the outdoors, even if it was just local.
Yeah.
then, of course, lockdown came and things like that. And I started realising how much I really hate the indoors.
Yeah.
So I started watching some YouTube in spare time, working from home, all that kind of thing. And I randomly came across wild camping. And I knew I loved the outdoors. I knew there were some beautiful places. What I never knew is that, wow, I can go and explore nature in this manner, which is what I did. I thought, you know what? I'm going to give this a go. I bought the gear. Let's see what it does for me. Let's see how my brain reacts to this. You know, I'm coming towards the end of fighting, and so I bought my tent, bought all that kind of stuff. Went out once, and now I think I've been out 100 times.
I was the same, actually. It hooked me immediately.
Gets you. It's a bug.
Yeah, definitely, without a doubt. The first time I looked at the sky at night without any lights from a city or a road or anything, I suddenly saw the universe. I was like, that was it. I was gone. I remember just like that's been up there all the time, and I've never even seen
Never stood and looked at it. Never sat and looked at it.
In fact, extraordinary.
I was camping next to this abandoned tower in the North Yorkshire Moors. Beautiful view, but obviously it went pitch black, and I was just like there. The stars were unbelievable. I thought, why haven't I found this before? And you know, now I've explored the Lake District, the Peak District, the Yorkshire Dales, the North Yorkshire Moors. I've put my tent on cliff tops next to the sea and just sat watching, you know. And when I started doing all this, I just thought, because of course all my charity work I've done through the boxing has been through the mental health charities, and I just thought maybe I can do this and carry on with raising awareness of mental health and doing my work for the charities, which is when I decided to take a camera with me on my wild camping journeys, filming what goes on and sharing my story, which I've shared today throughout the videos in bits and bats. Oh, sorry about that.
That's all right.
And explain to people, you know, that there is different kinds of help out there, encouraging people to get outdoors through using these videos. And I think I've done about 35 videos now on my YouTube.
Where can people see these videos? What's the name of your YouTube channel?
It's Adam in the Wild.
Adam in the Wild.
I mean, there's some of them are just funny. There's some questionable dance moves in there when I'm out and about. But yeah, it's good, and it's something to relate to. Hopefully, it helps people.
And what I want to make clear to people is there's a difference between this sort of connection that you're getting from wild camping and isolation. So isolating is an unhealthy psychological response, avoidance and isolation, as you know. And you can isolate in the middle of a group of people, which is what you did when you were traveling through Australia, right?
Yeah.
You weren't telling those blokes what was going on.
No.
So you weren't connected to them at all. But the interesting thing about the biophilic response is that it creates a sense of connectedness in us, which then allows us to bond with other people, because we bond with nature, we bond with other species, and then we bond with our own species. And that's the way it goes. And it's a real thing. So like I told you this, but I don't know how much I've told other people about it. But like if you put a park into an area of a city, it will reduce violent crime by 20% in the local area because of this bonding thing. It builds community connection, it builds physiological, emotional connections between you. It's the weirdest thing in the world. It's like so strong that in London, the Met Police invest in building parks with local authorities, local councils, because it reduces their workload.
You can believe it though as well, to be fair.
It's crazy, isn't it? It's crazy, but it's the absolute truth. It's so powerful that there's a whole biophilic architecture movement, which is trying to bring nature and natural forms into the built environment that we're in. And what it does is it has this virtuous circle response. So you remember during the lockdowns, so we kept all the parks open. That was because of this.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you know, we'd have been turned into, it'd have been the zombie apocalypse.
I was about to say zombies.
Do you know what I mean? It would have been the zombie apocalypse. We'd have been eating each other, but sort of being able to go to the parks, it connected us. It kept that sense of connection as human beings. because we were connecting with the local nature and connecting with other species, which allows us to connect with our own species. We have, unfortunately, run out of time, Adam. I told you we would.
Yeah, it's easy to get chatting away, isn't it?
Everybody. But look, what I want to say to you, if you don't mind, this is genuinely coming from my heart, is that your story is extraordinary, absolutely extraordinary. What I love about it is that you're just a bloke who's had these experiences and you can talk about it. And I think any other blokes listening to it will be going, oh, right, yeah, I get that. Because I know, having done it myself and also having worked in this field for a long time, that your story is exactly what blokes do when they're upset.
Yeah, it is.
And it's the opposite. We should be doing the opposite of that. And it's like, what's interesting for me is that you rediscovered the things that make you well and enhance your sense of being a guy, right? They don't detract from you. You went and did boxing, you went and did wild camping, right? Most blokes would be thinking, yeah, but if I do get into this emotional stuff and try and deal with it, I've got to go and join a group and sit around holding people's hands. It's like, no, it's not like that.
Definitely not.
It's not. Absolutely. Because I think you've rebuilt your sense of manhood, if that isn't too weird a thing to say, right?
No, you're definitely right. Like, I this hasn't gone away. I still struggle a lot.
Exactly.
I definitely struggle. I still do.
Yeah.
I've had times where, in bad days and good days, but you once you know what it is, once you can talk about it, once you understand what it is, it's normal.
Yeah.
And I've built my life back. I've got a beautiful daughter, a beautiful family.
All right.
I love my outdoors, and I look forward to waking up every day now, even though I know it might not be a good day.
Yeah.
So it can be done.
Yeah. Amazing. You stay there. We have to finish there, folks. Sorry about that, but maybe we can circle back at some point when you get your iPad back from your daughter. So
yeah.
Dropping. That's why he was dropping the phone all night, because she's nicked the iPad. Anyone, and she's already bullying him. It's incredible. Brilliant. You stay there, Adam. I'm just going to wrap up. Look, folks, it's been amazing to have Adam on. Sort of a lot of identification for me as a human being about his story, but we do have to finish there. So I'll catch up with everybody again next week. And just for now, you stay there, Adam. I will say goodbye to everybody else. Bye-bye.